So Lars, give me a little idea. First off, thank you for bringing me on here because it's funny how many people have asked me if I knew you over the last decade, and I was like, I don't know how I don't know this man, because I've been asked the question like a dozen times at least. So give me a little idea of who is here and what you would love to get from today, because I think we can do this one or two ways, right? We can do it where I like talk at everybody, which is really boring, and it's not that amazing, or we do it where we talk together and we actually solve some stuff, kick the butt, and take some names. So give me a little idea of who's here and what you would love to get from today.
Yeah, so we have a pretty diverse, we use these calls for team leaders, for solo agents and team members. So it's folks that could be, wanting to get they're at 100,000, they want to get to 500,000, or folks that are doing $1 million and they want to get to 2 million. The core problem that we're seeing, or the thing we're tackling every week, is given the bleeding headlines, which may or may not be reality. So mindset wise, we're struggling as an industry. Tactically, how do we come, into different conversations with sellers and buyers that are consuming those headlines? And then just how do we keep ourselves in a good place to be able to kick ass and take names, while I think a lot of the industry is going to get freaked out and perhaps, take their license out of play for the next couple of 3 years, where I personally think it's going to be worse before it gets better. So I've checked out your stuff, and you can kind of give, an abbreviated of your seven actions, and that can kind of get everything flowing. And then we can also mastermind and, pull people's biggest challenges up and, stuff like that. So this is very informal, our Tuesday get-togethers.
Yeah, I love it. So and thank you. And I'm honored to be here. You guys are amazing. And I've heard really great things about what you're doing. So let's just jump right into this, if that's all right. I can share my screen if that's cool. All right, let me put it up there. So just give you a little idea of who I am. In the last decade, I've been able to coach, like you said, over 6,000 agents from all over the country. I love what I do. I've got five amazing kids, and here's the reality. This has been, would you agree that the next couple months that are not going to be the easiest? Yes or yes? Like this is not going to be the easiest time. And so let me start with by giving you a couple of truths. I believe in the next couple of months, that we are going to have some significant challenges. Yet the reality is we didn't get this far to just come this far. Yes or yes? So let me give you some of the truths that I believe, and they may resonate, they may not, right? So here's the reality. This is not going to be the easiest next 3, 4, 6 months of your life. Agreed? Right? I'm a terrible motivational speaker because I'm just going to give it to you how it is, right? There's not going to be a whole lot of rah-rah. Hopefully, like, I empower you, not inspire you, because inspiration wears off as soon as we got off this call. Empowerment's going to stick with you, hopefully, for the rest of your life. Sound good? So one of the things I know about Lars is, like, we at least what we share is that we are real, and we don't want to inspire, we want to empower so that you can go away and kick some butt. So here's the first thing. It's not going to be the easiest. Second off is there are no other options. And here's what I mean by that. Like, what else are you going to do? All of you are unemployable. Would you agree? Like, if you're on this call, like, nobody's going to hire you. Like, you're independent, you're crazy, your Adderall bill is through the roof, or Vyvanse, whatever. You do you, right? But like, we're all, like, what else are we going to do? So I think there's a little part of our mind, you got to put that away. Like, there are no other options. I coach one of the biggest title companies in the country. And one of the things that's interesting is they say around this time of year, every year, real estate agents start calling them for jobs. He's like, they don't need to come work here. They need to do their stuff, right? So there's no other option. Like, there is no greener path out there. Third thing is, you do get to create the experience you're about to have, right? So in the next 2 or 3 months, right, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but you do get to create the experience you're about to have. Most people will listen to the narrative around them. Most people will create a negative experience. I'm going to give you some tools that will help you have a great experience to go through this. So here's the fourth thing. The fourth thing is, you didn't come this far to just come this far, right? Like, how many of us, we made it through some weird stuff in the last couple of months, right? In the last couple of years, like how many of us remember like couple Halloweens ago, right? You can all pretend you didn't watch Tiger King. I know you did. It was awkward for all of us. We'll never talk about it again. Okay. Right. Let's just pretend it didn't happen. Right. Like how many of us remember like the toilet paper war? Right. That was fun. Right. Like, and then like this was literally every day for the past 2 years. Right. Like Jim, was that you chugging Red Bull? Was that a Red Bull? I get it. Right. Like that was just right now. Like up. And then no, Jim's going to deny it. We all know what we saw. Sure. Okay. But yeah, he's got that and a Red Bull. Right. But it was weird. Right. So here's what's interesting. When you look at entrepreneurs and you look at us, right, we're twice as likely to struggle with depression. Right. Look at our, right. I was joking about Adderall and Vyvanse, right? Like, look at our numbers. Right. Right. When you look at addiction, we're through the roof. When you look at bipolar, right? Like it's tough to do what we do. Would you agree? And it's even tougher to keep our head in the game. Yes. So is it okay if I give you a couple things today that I think will help you stay mentally strong in this next little while as we're going through this? Because for most of us, you've got to conquer the inner voice in the next little while if you want to get through this. So let me give you a couple, and Lars hinted at it, let me give you a couple of decisions I believe that will help you make this, the best year that you can have. So here's the first question for you. And there's 7 different decisions. We'll probably get through 3 to 5 of them. But let me give you some of the decisions you got to make in order for this to be the best year of your life. So first off is, do you want this next 12 months to be the best 12 months of your life? Yes or no? Okay. Do you believe that it could be the best 12 months of your life? Okay. What would it take for it to be the best 12 months of your life? What's interesting is usually when I ask that question and I ask people, like, what would it take? What would need to happen for this to be the best 12 months of your life? I get a lot of, once I dig through it a little bit, I start getting answers like, it would have to be a 12 months where I didn't have a whole lot of financial problems. It'd have to be a 12 months where I didn't have a lot of like relationship problems. It'd have to be like, everything would have to be pretty good. Business would have to be, right? It would have to be kind of an easy, smooth 12 months. Right? Do you hear that? Like on an unconscious level, like that's what people say, right? And it's interesting because people say it would have to be that way. But the problem is this is not going to be the easiest 12 months of your life. Yes or yes. Like it's just not. So in order for it to be the best 12 months of my life, it would have to be the easiest or simplest. Like it's going to be brutal if that's what we're after. Most people say, and I was listening to this years ago, most people say like high school and college was the best years of their life because that was when they last remember being somewhat problem free. That's messed up, y'all. If the best 4 years of your life were college, like I hope college was great for you, but if that was the best 4 years of your life and you go live another 20, 30, 40, 50 years, like that breaks my heart. So we circle back to it. What would it take for this to be the best 12 months of your life? Like if you had to give some answers on what would have to show up for this to be the best 12 months of your life, what would that need to look like? For most people, they say it would have to be a problem-free 12 months. Does this make sense? Are you patient with me on this? So if problem-free 12 months is not on the table, right? What's our next option, right? Either this is going to be terrible, this guy sucks, Lars, can we get somebody else, right? Like you just don't, it's not going to be, no, but here's what I'm saying. So let me reframe it for this way for a second. What leads to your happiness? I think that one of the things that leads towards happiness is, or let me say it this way. Have you ever met an older person, somebody who's really been through a lot in their life, and you ask them what they're proud of? What do they usually share with you? They don't usually share like the really easy things. They usually go like that time that everybody quit and we figured it out. The time our funding fell through and we figured it out. The time where like everybody in my company left on a Tuesday and I had to hire all new people, right? Like that's what lights them up. What if I proposed to you that happiness is not the absence of problems? What if I proposed to you happiness is actually the byproduct of you tackling big problems and being proud of the person you were that actually tackled and pushed through those? What if problems were actually the best pathway to happiness and happiness was the byproduct of you tackling some really tough stuff and being proud of the person that pushed through it? What I believe leads to radical happiness is when you choose the problems you want to tackle, you tackle them and then you're proud of pushing through them. So let me ask you this. Yeah, I'm sorry, I lost my voice this last week. Let me ask you this. What problems do you want to be excited about tackling in the next several months? What problems do you want to be excited about tackling in the next several months? If you look at it this way, the cheese has moved, correct? Right? Like it's in a different place than it was. And the people that are going to get paid the most are the ones that tackle the tough problems, because that's what we're paid for, right? We're paid for tackling tough problems. Isn't it weird though? Imagine this. Imagine that you went to your mechanic this afternoon. You said, "Dude, how's business?" And he goes, "That's pretty good, but like people keep bringing broke cars. I hate that." Or you went to like your family doctor, and he's like, business is good, but like sick people keep showing up. I hate that. Right? You'd be like, "Bro, that's the whole gig. Like, that's all you do, right? Like, that's the whole thing, right?" What if you went to an agent and you're like, "Dude, how's business?" And he goes, like, buyers are crazy. Sellers are unrealistic." Like, that's the whole gig right now. Right? Like, you all signed up to work with humans and they're weird. Would you agree? Right? And then you have humans that are doing one of the biggest financial transactions, like they're going to get weird. So my question for you is, can you realize that like solving those problems is you chose to work with humans, there's a big reward, but choosing to solve those problems is going to lead to a big reward. And can you get on board with that? So my question for you is, and throw them out there, what are a couple of problems you're excited about solving in the next couple of months? If you can think of a couple, what are they? What are the problems you're excited to actually tackle in the next couple of months? What do you think? Balancing high production with high attraction, thinking bigger, creating systems to implement now. You have a lot to tackle, yes? Okay, so that's the first thing. The first thing I want you to write down is what problems you want to tackle. Are we good with that? Yes. Okay. If I'm doing good, keep making comments. If I'm not doing good, just flip me off. That's like the international sign for like move faster or change gears. Okay. So if y'all just start flipping me off, I'll be like, okay, let's just go to the next point. There we go. All right. So that's number one. What problems do you want? Here's number two. The number two thing that I believe is going to make the biggest difference between you and everybody else in the next several months, because let me say it this way. In the next several months, there's going to be three kinds of people. There are going to be accusers, there's going to be excusers, and there's going to be choosers. Have you already begun to hear the excusers and accusers? Right? How many agents you know that are blaming the market, that are blaming the government, that are blaming interest rates, that are blaming holidays, right? All the stuff already. And then there's going to be the choosers. So here's the second decision the choosers are going to make. The second decision is, how fast are you going to recover? Your recovery time is one of the biggest differentiators, I believe, between those who are going to be really successful and those that are going to struggle in the next couple of months. I love hockey, and I always think about, imagine if you brought someone on your hockey team, and for every, they could be an incredible player, but for every minute and a half shift on the ice, imagine they needed 45 minutes to recover before they could go back out. Right? Like, I don't care how good they are, they're probably not making the team. Would you agree? Right? Like, if they can only do 2 shifts a game, they're probably not making the team. Yes? So I'm going to ask yourself, based on your recovery time, would you make your team? And here's what I mean by recovery time. We're going to get tilted. How fast is recovery time? But I want you to look at this and ask yourself, how do you get tilted? So when we look at this slide, hopefully you can all see it. On the left-hand side, or hopefully it's on your left, right? You see like intense, you see intelligent, focused, aware, relentless, confident, driven, curious, fixated, furious. Like all these amazing attributes of who you naturally are. Like that's who you are, right? Most of the time, yes. Especially if you're in a large group, yes. Like that's who you are most of the time, right? When your pre-workout kicks in, like that's who you are. Then what happens? We get tilted. Have you ever, right? Tilted is like 3 deals fall apart in one day. It's never one at a time, by the way. I don't know why the real estate universe set it up that way. It's either like no deals, right? Zachary, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's like no deals or all the deals. I don't know why it's like that, right? So like we get tilted, right? And when we get tilted, we get aggressive. This probably isn't anybody else. This is probably other people I'm talking about, right? Myself. We get arrogant, aggressive, obsessive, sensitive, cutthroat, conceited, irrational, paranoid, right? Like we get super weird. Yes or yes? Right? The problem is when we get super weird, we kind of get locked out of our mind. right? And we can get weird by a prospect canceling on us. We get weird by somebody going to somebody else's downline. We can get weird by our kids giving us attitude on the way to school. Like we can get tilted. So the question is, what are your tactics? What are your ways to get back up quickly? What I think is very interesting is, if you look at this in our physical world, we have all these ways to get back up. So think about this. How many of you like have a first aid kit somewhere around? Right? How many of you have a spare tire in your car? Or at least some of you think you do. You've never actually seen it. It's probably in there. Hopefully it's in there somewhere. Right? Like imagine like if you ever had that time where you get locked out of the house, right? You come home, you got kids in the car, you got groceries, the ice cream starts to melt, you've been locked out of your house. It's like 6 o'clock at night. You got to call a locksmith. The locksmith takes forever to get there, right? They charge you an exorbitant amount of money, right? While the locksmith's trying to do his things, your kids are playing Survivor in the car and voting people off the island. Like it's getting weird. The ice cream is melting, right? Like it gets weird really fast. Yes. So find a locksmith, get you in the house. What do you do that night or the next day? What's the first thing that most of us do? Yeah, right. You all know what I'm talking, right? You go get a lockbox, right? You put it somewhere, you get a hiding key, you give a key, yeah, spare key, right? Exactly. Here's what you say. You say, I'm never letting that happen to me again. That was insane. I'm never letting that happen again. And you put a plan in place to be able to, in essence, recover quickly. Yes? My question for you is, as high achievers in the next couple months, what are your strategies? What are your hiding keys in the next several months to help you get back in your mind fast? Because we get locked out. Have you ever had that moment where you get tilted in the morning and in essence, it feels like you are locked out of high achiever mode for the next day or two? Have you ever had that? And most people have, if we're going to be really honest, most people have really poor recovery strategies. Let me see if you recognize any of the go-to realtor recovery strategies. We drink an excessive amount for multiple days, right? I swear to God, they give you a bottle of wine when you get in real estate, or maybe they should, right? Even though I'm on my sober journey, right? So right, they drink too much. They sleep for 3 days. They go. How many people do you know that they recover by telling everybody else how bad their day was? Have you ever met that person? It's like they walk around the entire office to let everybody know how bad their day was. So here's my question for you. What are your effective recovery strategies to allow you to get back in your mind fast? What I know is you will get tilted. I don't believe in a world, and maybe some of you would disagree with me. I don't believe in a world where we never get tilted. I think we're going to get tilted from time to time. But the world I want to live in is, hey, that used to take me a week. Now I'm able to recover in a day. Hey, that used to take me out for a day. Now I'm able to recover in 20 minutes. That used to take me an hour and a half to recover. Now I get ready in 5 minutes. So for a lot of you, right in the chat, right? It's working out. It's reading Ecclesiastes. Yeah, there's a time for everything. Amen. Right. Meditating, going for a walk, listening to a mindset. What I want you to really do in the next little while is I want you to build a toolbox of things you can do to recover fast. For me, it's like it's giving gratitude. It's called, right? If I call on my friends and I start telling them what I'm grateful for, some of them know now what I'm doing, right? You can't stay in a negative place and give gratitude at the same time. So I'll call somebody and I'll say, hey, Jason, thank you so much. I love this, right? I'll do that to recover. So my question for you is, how fast will you recover in the next little while? Yeah. So let me give you this. Let me see if I got it here. Here's one of the ways. Let me give you 2 ways to recover really, really quick. So first off, I'm going to put this up here in a second. I'll give you a link to my book that has some questions in it. But one of the best ways to recover is to reframe. How fast can you reframe a situation? Let me ask you this. Have you ever had that moment where you like get home at the end of the day and you are just exhausted beyond all exhaustion? You ever had that moment? Like you get in and you barely make it to the couch, right? Like if you ever had a case, if you have not had that, some of y'all need to work a little harder. Okay. I have not seen enough heads, Bob. Okay. Right. Like you've had a day where like, I barely made it home. Right. Like, right. And then your spouse asks you to take the trash out and you're like, babe, if I walk this trash can to the curb, I would die. Right? Like you're literally asking me to risk my life. Like I would just die on the driveway halfway there. Like there's nothing left, right? Like I'm at the end here. right? You're sitting on the couch, you're on the edge of death. And then what happens? Your buddy calls you and goes, Wayne, I have tickets to the game tonight. We're literally on the floor. They're front like this, right? What happens to your energy? Whoa, let's go, right? What am I wearing when you pick me up? Where are we going, right? Right. All of a sudden, you went from the edge of death to I'm ready to take on the world. Can you reframe your experiences that fast? Can you get energy at any time if you choose it, yes or yes?
Mhm.
You know this, yet here's what I want to realize, or here's what I want you to consider for a second. When did you stop seeing yourself at the highest version of you? How many of us, and you don't need to raise your hand, how many of you have already began, and this may not be for anybody on this call, but how many of us hear ourselves sometimes already giving up and we're not even at the end of the year? Have you heard people start saying things like, well, I had a pretty good year. It was the best year, it was better than last year. Have you already heard people start giving up on themselves or start making excuses for what they're not going to get done this year? Yes or yes? What I want you to recognize is you did not come this far to just come this far. You're going to spend time, energy, and effort. You may as well just get a high return. Your ability to keep there's three things, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this. There's three things that control your state. So I want you to ask yourself, what kind of state do I want to have for the next 2 or 3 months? What kind of state do I want to role model for the next three months? One of the things that I ask myself is, the other night I was reading one of my sons a book. It was this book about heroes, and it was, Martin Luther King and all these amazing people. And I'm reading this book to my son, and what hits me is when I want him to read my story. When I want him to read my story, right? There's parts of my story that quite frankly, I'd love for him to skip over. Yet they're part of my story, right? They may be, right. Years ago, I lost it all. My head got jacked up. I had an affair. I screwed up my life. To the point where I almost took my life. And I had this moment laying on a floor of a vacant building, getting ready to take my life. And what hit me was nobody's coming to save you. And it wasn't the people that will ever care about me. It's just nobody was coming to save me. And I could either check out or I had to step up and be my own hero. The question is for you is nobody's coming to save you in the next couple of months. What's the story you want to share at the end of this year? Do you want it to be a heroic story? Or do you want it to sound something like, I kind of tried? Like, what's the story you want to share at the end of this year? We joke about this all the time in my coaching company. Everybody wants to be a hero until they have to do the hero stuff. My question for you is, what's the hero stuff in the next 6 to 8 weeks that are going to get you in momentum going into next year? What's the story you would want read to your kids or somebody else? It's they didn't know how they were going to do it, and they did it anyway. They had to work the nights. They had to make the calls. They did the tough stuff, and now they're really proud of the person they were that did the really tough stuff. Yes? Right? 3 things control your state. Write these down. First, and you probably already know this, I'm not here to school you, I'm here to remind you. Because if you're anything like me, I need to be reminded way more than I need to learn new stuff, right? I need to be reminded like on a daily basis about stuff. So here's the 3 things to control your state. The first one is your focus. You already know this, yet I want you to check yourself on a daily basis. What am I focused on? Right? There is an unlimited amount of negative things to find in the world. Would you agree? If we went out and tried to find negative things, you could find an unlimited amount of negative things, right? How many people do you know that are literally on that treasure hunt every day? It's like at the end of the day, they come back to you like, here's all the negative things I found tonight. You're like, what are you doing? Right? There's an unlimited amount of negative things. There's also an unlimited amount of possibilities and positive things. You're going to find what you look for. So I want you to check yourself before you wreck yourself. What am I looking for on a daily basis? Your focus controls, right, is one piece of your state. The second thing that controls your state is your words. I would love for you to listen back to your words throughout the day. Most agents right now are talking themselves and their clients into a negative and poor place. They're saying things like, I know the market's tough. I know this isn't great. I know this, right? They're saying all these brutal things that are hurting them, right? Your words are like the paint you use to create a canvas that eventually you step into that becomes your life. Am I using empowering, awesome words, or am I using disempowering, negative words that are creating a disempowering, negative future? The third thing that controls your state is your physiology, your body, right? What you're doing with your body. It's interesting. Sometimes I'll be teaching a class. I'll ask people to sit like they're depressed. And what's concerning is usually half the class doesn't move, right? Right? They just stay where they were, right? So my question is, right? Are you moving your body? Are you telling your body you're ready to go? So when you look at those, I would challenge you to play the freeze game we played when we were kids. I didn't even know what the point of the freeze game was. But how many of you remember the freeze game, right? You just freeze. And I would love for you to freeze throughout the day and check in with yourself. What's my focus on? What are my words, right? What's my body saying right now? And what's the state that I want to have? Because losers, wait for their state to show up. Winners pick what state they're going to have for that day. Yes or yes. So the step 2 is I want you to reframe your experience. Step 3, right? Reframe the experience you're going to have. I remember years ago, this story just stands out to me. Years ago, I'd been traveling all week long. I was on the road training and teaching in all these different places. I got home and I knew I was only going to have an hour to sleep before I needed to get up and go to work. So I finally get home. I get to bed. I have young kids at the time. I finally get down, right, lay my head on the pillow, and my daughter, who's about 1.5 the time, begins to cry. Now, the first thought to my head was not like, yay, this is awesome, right? First thought, those of you that have kids, right? First thought through my head was like, are you kidding me? I was about to get 8 minutes of sleep and you're stealing that from me, right? So I'm laying in bed, and fortunately, I've been teaching mindset and all this great stuff all week long. So I'm laying there and I was like, hey, I want to have a different feeling. I want to think this differently. And I'm laying there, and what hits me is this image of my friend Mitchell. And Mitchell had lost his daughter to SIDS about 1.5 years before then, right about the time my daughter was born. And I remember the agony and the pain he went through. I hope none of you have ever had to experience it, because I can't imagine anything more painful than losing a child. And I remember I'm laying in bed and I see his face flash my eyes. And what hits me is Mitchell would give anything right now to be wakened by his daughter. This thing that I'm about to complain about, he would give anything in the world to be woken up at night by the crying of his daughter. Like, I don't have to go check on my daughter. I get to go check on my daughter. Okay? For so many of you, what I want you to consider is, what do you need to reframe in the next couple of months to make it a more beautiful experience? And I don't mean rainbows and butterflies, like everything's easy, but what do you need to reframe in the next couple of months to make it a more beautiful experience, right? Some of us go, right, like I have to go pick my car up for the shop, and somebody else is going like, what's it like to be able to have a car? Right? We're going, I got to go pick my kids up for school, and they go, what's it like to be able to have kids? We go, I have to go make my lead generation calls. They go, what's it like to be able to have such an incredible job? It doesn't mean it's all easy and rainbows and everything is butterflies. Yet you can reframe your experience that fast, and it will change the experience you have, which will change life you have, which will change energy, which could let you have the best year of your life. Does this make sense? Okay, give me 1 or 2 of those that stand out to you before I give you the next 2. What's standing out to you so far?
Reframing how you think.
Yeah, amen. Yep.
Looking at the problems as opportunities.
Yeah. And it doesn't, and like, I don't mean to sound like it's going to be all easy and fun and you're not going to have problems, but here's what most people do. Most people, they go through so much, and I've done this in my life over and over, so much additional suffering. Like if you ever had tripled down on the suffering, like when I had a client one time who needed to fire their person. And I remember calling one day, I was like, why do we keep having calls with you in your car? And she's like, I'm afraid to go into the office because I don't want to fire this person. And this has been going on for like months. Some of you may have had this experience. She was literally not going, it was her office. She owned the company. She was literally afraid of going to the office because she didn't want to fire this person that she knew was going to be in the office, right? She was doing all this suffering to avoid suffering. You're going to have to do some suffering. It's just how much additional suffering do I want to? If I'm going to already have to make the tough phone call, I don't need to do all the suffering. I just need to make the phone call, right? Am I going to suffer twice or am I going to suffer once? You're going to have to double down on some of your lead generation. I can either suffer by resistance and anxiety and frustration, or I can accept what is and lean into it. Make sense? Let me give you these, and I think this will help. Actually, I'll give you two different things. But so before I get to the suffering piece, is it okay if I give you a couple things? Because I want to respect your time. Can I give you a couple things that will help you with your clients in the next couple months? Right, because it ties into what we're saying. Is that all right? Do y'all want some help with your clients? Will that help? Okay, awesome. Two of you, Kate, I think Zach, I got like 2.5 head nods. Awesome. Half of you are playing Sudoku. I love you. I call that praying. All right, here we go. So here's a couple of things that I think will help you a lot in the next little while. So first off, with your clients, I want you to recognize your clients are tilted as well. How many of you are struggling right now or see your clients struggling to make decisions? To be able to move forward? Like, it's tough right now. So here's a couple of things. I just want to give you 2 tools that I think will help you with this. So just like you're tilted, our clients are also tilted, right? So here's what causes tilt a lot of times. The unknown. Is there a lot of unknown right now, especially in the market? So much unknown, right? Like Lars, you're probably like me. I've listened to like 15 different economists in the last 2 months. Every single one of them had a different story and a stack of facts to back it up. Are you with, right? I'm like, right, like each one of them, like we were thought we were in different worlds, right? It's like, here's what's gonna happen. Here's all my proof. And then the next guy says something totally different, right? There's so much unknown. The second thing that causes tilt is like not being in control. Interest rates are all over the place, right? We don't know what's happening, right? There's a lot of fear of future that our clients are experiencing. And then and all of that leads to lack of confidence, yes or yes. So our clients are experiencing tilt just like we are. So here's a couple of things that can help them come back. A couple of things you can do with your clients to help them get back. So the first one is you got to help them have hope in the future. Hope in the future is being able to explain to them, hey, look, every time we have a recession, here's what happens with housing. Hope in the future is where do you want to be for the next decade? Hope in the future is helping them understand, right, the trend with interest rates. We've never had interest rates as low as we did, right? Help them understand. The second thing to help them with is help them know what they can control and what they can't control. It's easy as humans to focus on what we can't control, and yet we feel empowered when we figure out what we can control. And then helping them see another way to get there. So here's the 3 words, the 3 C's that I'm consistently going over with my clients. When I'm meeting with my clients or you're meeting with your clients, the first thing we got to have is some compassion, empathy. I get that it's scary. I get that things are weird right now. I get that you're frustrated. And yet write this phrase down. This phrase is worth $100,000. That's exactly why I'm here. Write that phrase down. That's exactly why I'm here. You know, your clients will go, sorry. They'll say, we don't know if we should buy right now. That's exactly why I'm here. They'll say, I don't know if we should sell right now. That's exactly why I'm here. I don't know if we should go, if we should buy this investment part right now. That's exactly why I'm here. And then after compassion, you're going to go into clarity. Here's what I want you to give them. Right now, would you agree there are no simple answers right now? There are none, right? Right. A year ago, it's like, do you want to buy? Like, there are no simple answers. So when you meet with them, when you're talking to them, and they go, I don't know if I should this or I don't know. That's exactly why I'm here, right? There are no simple answers, yet I'm here to help you figure out what the right answer is for you. And we help them and we move them forward by helping them gain massive clarity. Clarity is the key for the next several months. Clarity on where do they want to go, clarity on what happens in these kinds of markets. Clarity, you've got to be more educated right now than you've ever had to be to move people forward right now. Would you agree? And when we can help them gain clarity, what does that lead to? It leads to massive courage. So when you're getting with your clients, right, giving them empathy, helping them through great questions, gain massive clarity, and that will lead to courage. It's one of the best things you can do for your clients right now. So remind them, if you're going to write down bullet points, remind them of what they've been through in the past, right? They didn't come this far to just come this far. Equip them with knowledge, right? What's happening in the market, what their options are, and then help adjust their focus and give them clarity. Does this make sense? Okay. All right. So let me go into where I was headed here just a second ago again. I get down to my slides. So there's a couple things that I think you need to do right now to build to build your business. How many of you, would that be helpful if I gave you a couple things that are working with my clients all over the country to build businesses? Yes, actually give you some good stuff. All right, cool. All right, this is mostly for Edwin since he said this is gold. Edwin, you're my new favorite person on this whole call. All right, let's go. So here's a couple things that are working right now to basically build your business. So this is the first one. The first one is you have got to be the voice. You've got to be your voice to your people right now. And so many of you experienced this 2 years ago when the pandemic hit. The real leaders showed up. Right? The people that were pretending to be leaders got really quiet and disappeared. There were some brokerages around where like the leaders of the brokers just disappeared for 6 months. The leaders were the ones that showed up. So right now for your database, let me say it this way. If you're not talking to them, they're going to start listening to somebody else. If you're not the voice for your database and your people right now, they're going to start listening to somebody else. I believe right now, this is probably one of the best opportunities to double your database in the next several months that we've had in years. And here's why. So many agents don't know what to do. So many agents are pushing fear and concern and worry. So many of them are just getting quiet. If you are the voice, if you're the one sharing the story, if you're the one showing people the path, it's an incredible opportunity to attract them in. Make sense? If you're not the voice, they will lead and go listen to someone who is talking to them. You do not have the luxury right now of getting quiet. There's a great quote by, can't remember who said it. Never let a crisis go to waste. Never let a crisis go to waste. Never let our agents and buyers concerned, confused, worried, all that. Never let that go to waste. So talking to your database, doing videos, doing messages, emails, all that stuff right now more than ever is huge. The second thing is golden letters. So we're seeing these work. You guys probably talked about this. It's interesting what works and sometimes what doesn't work. We're seeing a lot of our agents send out letters to different subdivisions, basically written from the perspective of their buyer, saying, hey, my name is Joe and Sally. I'm looking for a great property in the area. We're particularly interested in this location because of yada yada yada. Going on and on. And I like how it's like specific and vague. Right? We're considering a remodeled home or a property that needs update, right? Like it sounds specific, it also sounds kind of vague. And hey, this is the agent helping us with our purchase. So if you're open to selling, contact your agent. As simple as that is, are any of you use those right now? Because I'm seeing those letters work with more effectiveness right now than they have in years. So it's a little side note, but I'm seeing them work. So just something to put out there. Okay, here's another thing that's working for my agents. Being specific and calling their database. So they're calling their databases and basically saying, I'm looking for 10 people. How many of you missed out on some of the opportunity, basically in 2007 or 8? How many of you wish you would have bought more investment properties, whatever it is? I'm looking for 10 people who. I'm looking for 10 people who want to build massive wealth through real estate. I'm looking for 10 people who want to, whatever it is. But they're being specific as they call through their database, asking for the kind of clients that they would love to help right now. You good on that? Okay, here's the next one. I want you to ask yourself this question. If your clients knew blank, they would be knocking down the door to work with you. If your clients knew blank, they would be knocking down the door to work with you. What is the answer to that? This goes back to being the voice. One of the things that breaks my heart is sometimes how bad the amazing agents are at telling what they're doing and how good sometimes the poor agents are doing at telling what they're doing. If your agents, if clients knew blank, they'd be knocking down the door to work with you. If agents knew blank about your downline, they'd be knocking down the door to come join your family. If they knew blank, so what is that? If they knew how good you take care of your clients, if they knew the investment opportunities, if they knew about building wealth, like if they knew blank, so you got to be able to answer that question and then tell that story in a more aggressive way. Does this make sense? I guarantee you, if you answer that, and here, let me just give you one more side note on this. Are the dining room table conversations different than they were 8 months ago? Are we talking about different stuff at the dining room table? Do the average client, do the average agent have different concerns right now than they did 6, 8 months ago? Yes or yes? They're having different concerns, yet my question is, have your messages changed? Have you adopted the message, the marketing, the conversation you're having? Have you changed as their concerns have changed? If you haven't, we probably need to go back and reevaluate. What's the problem, the fear, the concern they have? And if they knew how, if they knew that you knew or had a pathway to solve that, they'd be knocking down the door to work with you. You solve that problem, you solve that question the next couple of days, it's going to be huge. The last thing a lot of our agents are doing that's working really well is they're doing a lot more events for their clients than they ever have. They're doing 1 hour, 2 hour events just as a way to bring their clients in, just an excuse to call them, an excuse to reach out more than they ever have. Okay, we're good? All right, let me give you a couple things that I believe will hopefully help. They may be concerned, but I believe these will help. So in the next couple weeks, next couple months, I believe that there are 5 things that are going to mess you up more than anything else. So here's the 5 that I believe that if you get on top of, you're going to be great. If you allow these to mess you up, it's going to really mess you up. Here's the 5. The first thing is distractions. How easy is it to be distracted in the next couple months? Right? Here's how I know this is an issue. How many of us talk to agents? They're like, man, I didn't get my calls this week. It was Thanksgiving. Like they talk about it as if they didn't even see it coming. Yes or yes? Right? Like I love it, especially with like 4th of July. People are like, I don't know what happened. I'm like, you're right? No, like 4th of July came from nowhere. I'm like, literally, it's in the name. The 4th of July. People act like they're surprised every freaking year, right? Right? How many of you, like, shame on me, shame on you if we're surprised that Thanksgiving's about to show up. Shame on us if we're like, I don't know where Christmas came from. This is freaking me out, right? Right? Like, distractions are going to mess you up. Choose if you're going to have a holiday or a holiday week. I don't care which one you're going to do, but make a choice before we get there. Distractions kill way more dreams than failures ever do. I would rather someone who had a lot of failure but kept going versus someone that's distracted. What I know is when every one of you on this call, when you are focused, you are unstoppable. When you are distracted, it's amazing how much we don't get done. Would you agree? How many of you right now are distracted in 48 different things, right? What I believe is focus is your superpower, but we have been conditioned to not be focused. Are you with me? Here's what I realized, right? If you look at this thing, there are companies paying millions, billions of dollars to basically take your focus. Yes or yes? Here's what helped me. When I realized that if I give that thing my focus, other people get paid. Right? Do you realize attention is the currency of today? When you go on Facebook, when you go on Instagram, when you also, they're getting paid. You giving them attention gets them paid. When you give your attention away, you don't get paid. When you give your attention, when you don't get distracted, you do get paid. Are you with me? So I would challenge you in the next several months to work on your muscle of focus, right? What do I got to get away? The dings, the alarms, whatever it is, you got to do to be in a more focused state is going to be huge. Here's the second one: resentment and blame. You already hear agents that are resenting and blaming. They're beginning to already craft this masterpiece, which is going to be their masterpiece of excuses of why they didn't hit their goals and have a big life. You already hear it, right? You go, why did you hit your goals for this year? And they go, look at this. Like, look at all the evidence I collected. I got this ginormous masterpiece of all the excuses, all the reasons, right? So I can blame this thing instead of have success. What I want you to realize is resentment and blame is going to steal your dreams. Resentment and blame is going to steal all of your good energy, which ties into number 3, which is resistance, right? For most people, they're going to resist. How many people, like when the MLS changes, they talk about it for 9 months. And the successful agents are like, yeah, we figured it out last week and here we go. Resistance to change, resistance to having to do things differently is going to kick you. What I realize is a lot of agents right now are resisting that. Now I got to learn how to take care of a listing for 2 months where it used to have to be 2 days. They're resisting reality. Do you know agents right now that are resisting reality? Do you have to make more contacts now than you had to make a year ago? Yes or yes? Right? Do you have to hold on to listings longer than you did a year ago? Yes or yes? Right? Like, stop resisting. It's stealing so much energy and time. The fourth thing that's going to mess you up, and really cause loss of momentum is comparison. And this one I struggle with, and I continue to get better. I'm better than I've ever been, and I'm not as good as I'm going to be around this one. We begin to compare ourselves to everybody else. I think Tony Robbins said it the first time, comparison is the greatest thief of joy. Y'all, in the next 2 months, I would challenge you to chase you and recognize it's easy for us to get into comparison, right? Do any of you struggle with this like I do? Right? I look at somebody else's downline, or you look at somebody else's production, or you look at some like 22-year-old kid that just sold this company for $3 billion, right? Like, whatever it is, right? Comparison messes us up. I remember my 12-year-old son a year ago, whatever, said, he goes, "Dad, somebody's always going to be doing better than you." And I was like, "You're really inspiring," right? And yet, the rest of the conversation is somebody is always going to be doing better than me. And there's always going to be somebody who would give anything to be where I am. It doesn't matter. I've got to run my own race. And it's like driving a car. My challenge for you is I want you to drive your car. If you spend too much time looking out the side view mirror, the rear view mirrors, you're going to end up crashing. It's okay to look at those mirrors from time to time and use other people as inspiration. Just don't use them as comparison, right? Somebody just added, 15 people to their downline, right? Maybe I want to learn what they did, and I can use that to inspire some of my actions, but use it as inspiration rather than comparison, because if you get lost in comparison, it's going to eat your lunch. It's going to steal your dreams. Make sense? Run your own freaking race. All right. Here's the fifth one: focusing on things you can't control. You all know that. Like, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I just want to remind you, because it's so easy right now to get lost in focusing on things we don't control. So for each of you, it's what's the rhythm throughout the day. For me, every morning, waking up, writing down some of the things you're grateful for, writing down your priorities, being focused. You've got to choose the state you want to step into. Make sense? So let me share this. We make ourselves miserable or make ourselves strong. The amount of work is the same. All right, we make ourselves miserable or we make ourselves strong. The amount of the work is the same. So here's one of the things that I want you to consider for a second. For me, it's like, who am I going to be? In these next 2 months, a couple of things that I'm going to defend my peace. For me, I'm going to be all in where I am. For me, I'm going to look under the bed. What that means is, like, if there's something I'm afraid of or worried about, I'm just going to look under the bed and check out the monster, right? How many of you remember, kids? It was always scarier before you looked under the bed. Yes, right? Like, if I'm scared of a certain kind of dialogue, if I'm scared of working with a certain type of client, if I'm scared of change, like, I'm just going to look at it and lean in, right? The next one is I'm going to do the hard stuff. I'm going to continually practice joy and gratitude. I'm going to amplify love and greatness. I'm going to work to fight for my greatness. Let me say it this way. One of my mentors said this years ago. I'm going to fight for my greatness more than I'm going to work to defend my limitations. Are you going to fight for your greatness, or are you going to find proof of your limitations and support of those? So what I want you to ask yourself right now is, and write this down if you can, what do you want to be proud of at the end of this year? If you think about this in the next couple of months, what do you want to be proud of? I don't think any of us would be really proud if we just I did the minimum and I made it. Right? What do you want to be proud of? I'm proud of I made the calls that I really didn't want to make them. I'm proud that I figured out a schedule that actually worked for me. Right now, what are you pretending not to know needs to change? Are you pretending not to know the where I want to get business from is not working the way it is? Are you pretending that my schedule doesn't align with where I'm actually want to go? Are you pretending that the people you're spending time with are the right people? Are you pretending? Some of us are pretending that some of our buyers are actually buyers, and maybe they're not, right? What are you pretending not to know? Are you pretending not to know that you need to adjust some of your habits? What are you pretending not to know? And what do you want to be proud of? What are the two things you want to be really proud of at the end of this year? The reality is you did not come this far to just come this far. And you already unconsciously or consciously know what you need to do to be proud of yourself by the end of the year. Yet so many people will pretend not to know. And they'll get to January 1st and they'll freak out. Right, and they'll begin to beat themselves up, partially because they deserve it, because they didn't do what they needed to do, because they pretended not to know. So they're going to be proud of, and your actions back that up. All right, my friend. What do you got, Lars? I don't know if you have any questions or any ahas. I'll let you take it away. Thank you so much for having me on here. Like I love what y'all are doing, what you stand for, and man, I'm just really excited to hear what happens the next couple of months.
That was amazing. I mean, if we've got you for 6 more minutes, I'll open it for, let's open it up for questions. Any specific questions? I took, I think, 7 pages of notes. So really, really powerful. I just appreciate you opening your heart and spending your time with us. Any specific questions that you guys have for Wayne? I mean, there's so much good stuff in here. I've got questions I'm sure that I can come up with. How do you, let me ask you this. So there's probably 8 to 10 questions that I wrote down that are really life changers if you actually sit down and sort of contemplate them. What sort of routine or cadence do you do this, in? Like, are you asking yourselves like a series of questions once a month about these things? Is this an annual process you go through, or is it like, when shit's going to hit the fan, you're kind of leaning into some of this stuff? And then Beth has a question.
Yeah. So let me say it this way. I believe that a lot of us are, we want to be high performers. And what I want, or we are high performers. Every high performer I know has a routine that they go through. So I would challenge, years ago, I recognized I wasn't going to be the only one who didn't need to blank, right? So if every high achiever I looked up to got up early in the morning, I probably need to get up early in the morning. If they had a schedule they followed, like I probably wasn't going to be the only one who's going to be able to wing it. Like if they practice their scripts and dialogues, like I was probably going to have to do that, right? Like I probably wasn't going to be the one freak of nature that didn't have to follow some of these success leaves clues type of things. So in response to your question, the thing I would ask everyone to consider is, every morning you hear people say, I hope I'm motivated today. I hope I'm focused today. I hope. Like, screw that. What's the routine you need to go through to show up in a state of focus? What's the routine you need to go through to show up in a state of motivated, right? For me, it's I listen to certain things. I review my affirmations. I write down what I'm grateful, right? There's several things I go through that naturally lead me to a state of motivated, of focused, etc. Right? So many people, they hope that things show up, and it's just like driving to work, right? I unlock my car, I get in the car, I turn the key on, I pull this way, then I drive this way. You have a routine that naturally leads you to get to the office. I want you to establish whatever it is for you, a routine that naturally gets you to a state of focused and motivated. Does that make sense? So I think whatever that is, you got to have it. And then, like I was saying, I forgot to put up here. Let me share this with you. I wanted to give this to y'all. I wrote a book a little bit ago, and in the book you can go get it for free. But write down page 86, I believe is what's in there. And in the book, I wrote down a list of questions on page 86 that helped me a lot when I get tilted. So thank you for saying it. I want to share. So you can go get it for free. Just download it. And on page 86, there's a list of questions. I ask myself, if I get tilted, if I get weird, if I'm having a bad day, these are the questions that help me get back in my powerful state quickly. So like you're saying, Lars, I don't leave it up to chance. There's multiple tools in the toolbox that get me back to the state of focused, energized, relentless, whatever I want to be.
Awesome. Beth, go ahead, Beth.
Oh, hi, Wayne. Thank you so much. This is great information. I can't quite focus on which thing. So obviously I'm having a problem with focus right now.
Yeah.
Why real estate? And then also, is there any specific turning point that got you into attraction?
Okay, so what was the first question?
Why did you choose real estate? As a-
I chose real estate probably for the reasons a lot of you did. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with my life, and real estate was like something that I was good at that led to everything else. I wanted to get into investing and everything else. So that was kind of how I got into real estate. The turning point for attraction for me was two things. One, I realized that everybody is coming, meaning as soon as they see it and understand it, they're going to come. Right? Like it's the natural progression. The other thing that I realized was, and I think this is an old, I don't know, I heard it from a friend of Zig Ziglar, so I don't know if he ever said it publicly, but Zig Ziglar, I believe, said, if you help a friend, you never have to sell again. When I come at it from that vantage point, my whole energy shifts and it allows me to have conversations that previously felt salesy or weird to me. So now when I help a friend, I never have to sell again. And that was a big turning point for me when it comes to attraction is coming at a standpoint of like, it's not for everybody, but I'm going to do my part because I don't want anyone to come to me years from now and go like, I don't know why you didn't tell me. Like, why didn't you love me enough to at least try to have this conversation with you?
Awesome. All right, man. I appreciate you and bringing it today. This has been awesome. I would ask everyone to unmute their mics and let's give a round of applause or a hoot and a holler for Wayne.
Woo!
Yeah.
Holler!
All right, thanks, brother. All right, everybody, get after it. Do what you got to do to get into some kind of cadence around asking yourself these questions on a regular basis. And man, talk about the art of asking good questions. Appreciate you, Wayne. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thank you.